Hi everyone, this is Nina from Raphaela Soul Sessions. How are we all? I didn't want to come on at all. I wanted to go to my bed, but my guys had other ideas, and they popped this idea into my head and said, "You gotta make a video about this right now." So doing what I'm told, I wanted to make a video about the things you can experience and the ways you can feel after you have a session, and the impact of one of these sessions can have on you sort of immediately afterwards, and in the sort of following days after the session. Partly because I feel like it's important to share, and partly because I think it would be a good thing for my clients to have a resource to come to and something I can share with them so they kind of know what to, I'm not going to say the word expect, but what can happen and how you can feel. Personally, I've had a number of these sessions and I still often feel that sort of lovely in between floaty, buzzy phase afterwards where you can feel a little bit ungrounded and lightheaded. You can feel just like you just want to express everything. You just feel in love with everything. You can feel really, really elated. Give me a second. You can feel, yes, very elated, ecstatic, and excited. You can, definitely feel very ungrounded. And this is why we always suggest that grounding practices are very, very important afterwards. Even for me, I have to do grounding practices after I facilitate a session. So things you can do to ground yourself. Go for a walk, sit under a tree, feel your energy, send your energy down into the ground, down into Gaia, anchor yourself into Gaia. Imagine you have a cord wrapping around the heart of the earth. So a simple meditation under a tree can be very grounding. Walking bare feet outside. Sometimes I can leave a jug of water outside and I can have the intention of grounding. I can infuse it with that intention and I can put a little label on it saying grounding and leave that outside during the session and then drink it afterwards, and that will ground. Grounding foods, there's lots of different grounding foods. Root vegetables are really good, potatoes, nuts and seeds, things like that. So yeah, we always recommend to do some sort of grounding. When I had my first session, I've told this story a few times, when I had my first session, I didn't do any grounding. And I think it was about day 2 or 3, I noticed myself feeding the washing machine cat food and realized maybe I was a little bit ungrounded. So, you can feel very excited. You can feel very, very loving and loved. You can feel very empathic and very compassionate. You can also feel emotional. And I often get clients contact me in the following days and saying, you know, I feel emotional. Is this okay? Is this normal? And it's completely normal to feel emotional, feel vulnerable. have memories or emotions come up that you didn't expect. That's all completely normal, because quite often the healing expands longer than the actual session. So you may have things come up afterwards, but just know that it's normal and it's okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. It's the healing process. So it's not just like a destination, it's a process, and it can take some time. You can feel very tired, and this is the thing about doing sessions online, which is great, that you don't have to get in a car and go in traffic and drive for ages and try and navigate public transport or be out in the world. You can just be in your own little safe bubble in your room. You can go to your bed, you can, you know, whatever you need to do in your space. This is why we say take the next day off. Take the whole of that day and the next day off, or a couple of days just to yourself. Allow yourself to do whatever you need to do. You can also doubt the entire experience. I've often had clients contact me saying, I feel like I just made the whole thing up. And that's also normal, because what happens is you come back from that state, that deep relaxation, hyper awareness, higher self state, and your conscious mind swoops back in and tries to make you doubt everything, as if you just made it all up. And none of what you've said is true, which isn't the case. This is essentially just the ego really wanting to come back in and be in control. It doesn't mean you've made it up, but we always say imagination is the language of the higher self. So even if you did make it up, you're still receiving information from your higher self. So you cannot lose with these sessions. It's still going to be exactly what you needed to receive during that session. So that's normal. And the best piece of advice for having those doubts and those fears is to listen to your session as soon as you can and as often as you can. I always send the sessions, usually via WeTransfer, but if there's a problem, then I can send it Google Drive. What else? You can want to be on your own. Sometimes going back into your normal home environment with everyone milling around and, you know, people who've not just had one of these sessions, it can be a bit kind of isolating in a way, or you can feel a little bit isolated, but then you can also want to be on your own, because it's so big and so vast and so powerful. And I remember when I first started having these sessions, I just wanted to talk about it all the time. I still want to talk about it all the time, but I just wanted to express this to people because I found it so fascinating and so amazing that we are capable of so much. And the people I was trying to express it to just weren't really getting it. So I found myself really just needing to process that by myself and get my head and my heart around everything, because you wake up to so much more about yourself. You can need that time on your own to really integrate that. What else? You can forget stuff. You can forget normal everyday things, and I think that's probably connected to the grounding bit. But you can forget that you were meant to do something, or that you'd made plans, or that can happen. So just make sure you've written everything down and everything you need to do and all those things. You can notice an influx of information relating to either past lives or the experiences you've had during the exploration part of the session. So you can suddenly become hyper aware of a part of your session and start receiving intuitively more information about that. And that's totally normal as well. It can happen the day after, it can happen 2 weeks after, it can happen 2 months after, it can happen a year after. It, you know, it can happen years after as well. It's the information comes whenever you need it, but once we open up our doorways of perception to this new level of awareness, then we're opening up to this information coming in. And when we heal ourselves on all these levels, we're releasing these trapped emotions and trauma and experiences from our being. We're releasing it. We're opening up space for more of that awareness, more of that connection to your higher self and to this information about you and your path and your soul's journey. So you can experience enhanced psychic abilities, and you can start to experience clairvoyance, clairaudience, all the clairs. You can start to notice your intuition really increases. You'll start to notice what information is your higher self and what information is trying to trick you. What's the ego? What's the monkey mind? Sometimes you can really start to notice the separation between what's truly your higher self and what is trying to lead you astray. I've noticed that after, I've done quite a few sessions now, but I'm a practitioner, so we often do quite a few sessions. But I have noticed a huge increase in my connection with my higher self. To the point where I do feel sometimes I really am embodying my higher self, and that pathway to that higher wisdom and that higher knowing, that channel is just open all the time, and it's a really fun way to be. It's a really fun way to live, because you're just in that flow of that higher information, and you learn to trust. You learn to trust yourself so much more. You learn to trust your intuition so much more, and it's a really lovely way to live. So that can happen as well. What else have I written down here? I think I mentioned about empathy and compassion. You do start to notice that your relationships with people can change slightly, especially if it's come up in your session about why you have, my cat's having a cough. Excuse me. All right, Chris. You can, bless him. Oh, pal. You can start to notice your relationships with the people that you've maybe talked about during your session. You maybe talked about the dynamic that you two have, or the soul connections that you have, and what the purpose of that connection is and that relationship is. You can start to notice that you respond differently to that person. That's how you know there's healing taking place, because you can see that wider perspective. You understand the lessons that you've chosen to learn about yourself and about this person with. And you just understand more about the dynamic that you have. So yeah, that empathy and compassion for those people in your life, or maybe those challenging relationships, can definitely increase. Increase synchronicities, and especially right after your session, you can just kind of I mean, there's so many beautiful moments that can happen after these sessions, and it's just a little nod from spirit or from your guides that yes, that was all real. Sometimes my clients will share with me what happens to them, and it can be a little photo, or it can be just a word that's come up on their news feed, or something that's directly linked to their session will just pop up in their life, and it's just like a confirmation that yes, all of that was real and for you. And yeah, you can have that ongoing messages relating to your sessions. You can notice a lightness of being, and that's how only way I can describe it. It's a lightness of being. When we release a lot of that density from our bodies, a lot of that heavy kind of treacle, molasses type energy from our bodies, stuck to trap energy, we can feel a sort of real lightness. We can often feel like we're glowing, like we're floating. Really, really beautiful way to feel. But then at the same time, we can also feel quite heavy. We can also feel that, we've delved and opened up information that maybe we've locked away for a long time, and that can feel quite heavy. And knowing that there might still be some healing to do there, but like we always say, it's like the layers of an onion. You've got to peel them away layer by layer, but whatever you feel, it will shift. You're not going to feel like that forever. I'm always on hand after sessions. I'm not a do a session and run kind of girl. I'm always here, and if there's anything that you want to talk to me about or ask me about, then just send me a message and I will give you a response. Free of charge. I'm not gonna charge for that. However, if you do want to have a longer chat with me, I usually right after the session I will spend about half an hour with my clients going over the information, maybe talking about the cards that I pulled before the session, because I always pull my clients some cards before we start. So we'll talk about the cards that have come through, or we'll talk about the main points of the session, and just having that little talk can start to ground us a little bit, so it's quite helpful. Unless we have a time constraint and we've gone over and we have to go, usually I'll be able to spend at least half an hour with you after the session. But if you want a longer catch up with me, like an integration kind of talk, we can do that, absolutely no problem. I think I have that listed on my website and my services as an actual service. So if you do want a post-session catch-up where we really sit down and go over everything, go over how you're doing, how you're feeling, how you feel it went, how you're integrating, how you can start to implement the information that you've learned from your session into your life, and things like that. So that's one of my services. It's on my website. I can't remember how much it is, but it's all there on my website. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. I think so. There's all sorts of things that you can feel after your session, but just know that anything you're feeling is okay and is normal, and healing can be beautiful and amazing, and it can give you a completely new perspective on life. But at the same time, it can also be really difficult, and it can be painful to open up traumas or wounds in our lives that we've never really addressed before. So just allow yourself to be where you are. wherever you are is okay. And as long as you do the grounding, you listen to your session, and you stay trusting and open to the information that's going to come to you after your session and the insights and the integration process, then you'll be absolutely okay. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I am going to go to bed now. Yes. Yeah, my higher self decided that I needed to make this video, and so I did it. So if you want to check out any of my services or have one of these sessions for yourself, my website is www.raphaelasoulsessions.com, and I look forward to hearing from you very soon. Take care. Bye.